Wrapping up our Hiring Your First Employee series, let's talk about something very important, your employee handbook. I think this is a topic that most employers know they need, but it's often overlooked in the startup phase and only becomes prioritized when there's an issue. This video will help you avoid a reactive response and help you proactively develop and roll out an employee handbook for your organization. If you are ahead of the curve and you already have a handbook in place, I'll help you audit your versions to confirm you have some of these important pieces. Think of your handbook as your company's playbook. It sets expectations, clarifies policies, and protects both you and your employees. Without one, you could face things like miscommunication about policies that results in disgruntled employees who will then be unproductive and possibly spread negativity throughout the business. Things like inconsistencies in how things are handled, which could result in discrimination claims. Things like legal risks if policies aren't clearly defined, potentially resulting in financial payouts, and things like confusion about benefits, time off, or workplace behavior, which just adds to the plates of you and your management team when they should be focusing on the business. Nobody has time for any of that. Here's the good news. You don't have to write a handbook from scratch. Even if you were an attorney, that would not be something you should do. Here are your options. Number one, you can find a boilerplate template through an internet search. I don't recommend this for reasons I'll explain next, but it is an option. Number two, you can check with your health insurance broker to see if they offer this as an option. Many will partner with HR platforms, which include a boilerplate template. This is better than number one that I mentioned, but there are still some issues. We'll talk about that in a minute. Number three, you can work with an attorney, a lawyer, which is an excellent option for protection and will be very custom and thorough, but it will also cost you. Number four, you can borrow one from your friend who has a business like yours, which I think is kind of in between number one and number two. And number five, you can partner with Amplified HR, which is a lot closer to number three at a fraction of the cost. We aren't attorneys, but we do use proprietary software to deliver attorney-reviewed policies that are custom to your business. All right, now that you know how and where to start on your handbook, let me review some of the biggest mistakes we see small business owners make with theirs. Number one, copying from the internet. I know I said that was an option, but the problem with this is that you don't always know how credible the source is where you find your template. You don't know how often they update their policies. Many laws change and new ones are added from year to year. And you don't know if those templates have all the policies you need. This is also a caution for those who use the platform provided option through an insurance broker. You have to still know a little bit about which policies apply to your business and which ones you can safely remove or make changes to. Otherwise, you could miss something big. It can be done for sure. Just be careful. All right, another mistake we see is forgetting to update it. Laws and policies change throughout the year, from year to year, and so should your handbook. We update our handbooks for our clients at least once a year. Sometimes there are major changes and sometimes there are just some immaterial language revisions, but we are proactively looking at this year to year. We also implement changes mid-year for legal mandates that pop up. Another mistake is making your handbook policies too rigid. Policies should guide, not handcuff your decision making. Meaning, if your policy says that a violation will result in termination, it really needs to result in termination. If there is ever a possibility in the future that you would not want to terminate your very best employee for that particular violation, your policy needs to reflect that. Another mistake we see is not having employees sign an acknowledgement. If there's no proof that they received a handbook, it's like it never existed. The handbook acknowledgement is a very key document for all employees to sign. Another mistake is not matching your policies in practice or having variances between the handbook and individual policies employees sign off on. The handbook should be a working document. It should be updated as frequently as your policies change and should match what you actually do in practice. Otherwise, it's not worth the paper it's printed on or the storage space it takes up on your server. Okay, here are the takeaways. Number 1, get a handbook that fits your business. Number 2, make sure it's compliant with employment laws. Number 3, keep it up to date. And number 4, have employees sign an acknowledgement form with specific language to protect you. If you don't have an employee handbook, or if yours needs a refresh, we can fix that today, or at least start the process. We have 2 options for this and would love to tell you about them. You can reach out to Nicole at amplifiedhr.com and she will help you determine if these will work for you. Listen, so much in business is hard. Your employee handbook doesn't have to be.